Hi, I'm Eddie from the Netherlands. I'm going to tell you why I haven't showered for 15 years. If you enjoy the story, do like, share, and subscribe. I have nightmares where I'm trapped in the shower. The drain is plugged in, and the water won't stop pouring down on me no matter how hard I try to turn the knob. The water in the shower rises to my ankles, then to my waist, and finally over my head till I am completely submerged. The shower curtain turns to glass, and my screams turn to gargles. A dark skeletal figure presses its face against the glass and stares at me. I plead, but it won't let me out. I swallow water and flail helplessly in my glass coffin. I wake up gagging. I know where the nightmare comes from. I never have to dig deep. The incident is never far from my subconscious. Finding it is easy. Getting over it is not. It was the summer of my 13th birthday when the Jansens moved in across the street. A family of three, one of them a really old woman. She was tiny and frail, almost skeletal, with thin white hair and a faded blue flowery dress. Her head hung from her neck and wobbled as the man, presumably her son, pushed her wheelchair up a makeshift ramp into the house. At that time, I wouldn't have been able to tell you if she was alive or dead, if my life depended on it. A few hours later, she appeared in an upstairs window, seated in her wheelchair. She was propped to face my bedroom directly. I felt uneasy. Her head was upright now, and she was staring straight at me. Just staring, without moving her head an inch. For days, I watched her just sit at that window. She watched the cars putter by our suburban road and gazed at the neighborhood kids playing games in the street. I never saw anyone else in her room, nor did I ever see her move from that wheelchair. At night time, I'd nervously peek through the crack in my drapes. Though the lights were turned off in her room, I could still see her silhouette in that window, staring out into the darkness, directly into my bedroom. I couldn't prove it to anybody, but I just knew that she was watching me. Rumors about her cropped up pretty quickly amongst my friends in the neighborhood. They claimed that she was a witch, or that she was just a life-size doll. Some said that she was actually dead, but I knew she wasn't dead. Sure, I never saw her move away from that window, not even once, and I never saw her head turn, not even the slightest bit, but I felt her eyes move as she studied me. I could feel her watching me, all alone in my bedroom in the middle of the night, with my drapes firmly shut. I'd suddenly wake up and shudder. The thought that her eyes were solely on me gave me goosebumps. I began sleeping on the floor. The lower I was, the better. Maybe the old hag wouldn't be able to see me if I was on the floor. The old woman across the street is creeping me out. Could you guys please talk to the Jansens and ask them to move her to a room without a window? Relax, son. Let her live out her twilight years in peace. She's just watching the street. It probably makes her feel happier and younger. Are you just going to stick me in a windowless room when I'm an old lady, Eddie? Remind me to move in with your sister when I'm in a wheelchair. A week later, there was some commotion at the Jansens. I watched from my bedroom window as the man ran out of the house and opened up the double doors of his van. He jogged inside and reappeared minutes later, pushing the old woman in her wheelchair down the ramp. She looked frailer than before. She couldn't have weighed more than 70 pounds. Her head was flung to the side, resting on her right shoulder. Her body jostled, in the wheelchair, but her eyes never left me. She watched me the whole time. The man picked her up and placed her in their car. He folded the wheelchair and stuffed it in the trunk. He quickly hopped into the driver's seat while the younger woman pounced into the passenger's seat, and they promptly set off. The old woman's limp head still faced me. It bobbed up and down as their van reversed down the driveway. I studied her face. It was expressionless, emotionless. Her tongue hung out slightly from the right side of her mouth, but her eyes were on me, and they stayed on me. The van accelerated down the street, and it was gone. Did you hear about the Jensens? The old woman's condition worsened, so they took her to a nursing home. I don't think she'll be coming back. You're in luck, Eddie. Her window was finally empty. The Jensens didn't come back the next day. No van. There was no one there, no wheelchair. But the bedroom light was on. I remember telling my dad I thought it was strange, and he just shrugged and said that the light for that room must be on some sort of timer or something. I woke up in the middle of the night and nervously peered out my bedroom window. That bedroom light, it was still on. Then suddenly, it flicked off, and I ducked below my window frame. I slowly lifted my head and looked out, expecting to see the silhouette of that tiny skeletal being. I watched for 10 minutes, pinching and straining my eyes. The lights quickly flickered on and then off again. I slept on the floor again that night, clutching my pillow close. I had late football practice the following evening. When I got home, my house was empty. My parents were at my little sister's tennis game. I headed to the shower to rinse off. About 3 minutes into my shower, I felt cold. The hot steam escaped the bathroom somehow, which didn't make sense because I had shut the door. I wiped the shampoo from my eyes and turned my head when I heard a strange noise that would haunt me in nightmares for years. The metal rings of the shower curtain being dragged across the rod. Someone was slowly opening the curtain. The shampoo stung my eyes, and through the stinging, I saw a dark figure behind the curtain. Long, pale, bony fingers gripped the curtain as it slowly opened. I instinctively backed up in the shower, and the curtain opened completely. There stood the old woman. I must have only looked at her for 1, maybe 2 seconds, but at that moment, time stood still. All these years later, I can still draw you a vivid picture of the horrifying image in front of me. Disheveled white hair, crazy in her eyes, bones jutting out from under her stretched skin. She smiled grotesquely, and I felt the shower tile against my back and the hot water pound my face. In her other hand, the old woman held a letter opener. August. I leaped past her, knocking her tiny body to the floor. I ran downstairs, naked and soaping wet. In my panic, I somehow remembered I was nude, and I yanked a pair of shorts out of the hamper in the laundry room, sending the hamper crashing to the floor. I hightailed it on foot down the street, eventually winding up at my friend's house. When the police arrived, they found the old woman crumpled to a heap in my bathroom. The shower was still running. The police officers were all nice to me, admiring my bravery. She said the word August a couple of times. Would you know what she could have meant by that? It will be August in a few days, and you can never fully understand old and crazy, son. The Jansens only came to our street once more to retrieve their stuff. The for sale sign was up in days. My mom told me they couldn't face their neighbors for the events that had transpired. Apparently, they had taken the old woman, Mr. Jansen's mother, to a special home, but somehow, some way, the woman managed to escape the home and caught a bus back to our town. It never made sense to me. She was so old, frail, and helpless. She could barely move all those weeks she lived in that house. How had she managed to travel hundreds of miles on her own? Anyway, you can imagine what this did to me. I didn't shower for 15 years. Of course, I took baths in bathtubs, which I suppose aren't that different. It's still a tub and involves hot soapy water. But a shower, with its closed curtain, water peppering the tub floor, and steam climbing the walls, you get lost inside your own head in the shower. Thoughts consume you, and it feels so utterly safe. For a few minutes, you are alone from the world. It's your own private, misty kingdom. But that's what makes the shower dangerous. You're enclosed, vulnerable, naked. You're exposed. I talked to people about it, my parents, a shrink, but mainly I tried to push the incident deep down into places where I couldn't find it. I didn't talk about it with anyone since I was a kid. Life carried on. Besides the baths, I was pretty normal. Then, a few months ago, something inside me clicked. I felt the urge to re examine the incident. It was almost like a voice in my head was telling me to do it. My head wanted closure. I spent hours online one night trying to track down any information on the Jansens and the old woman. I finally found what I was looking for, an obituary for the old woman. She had died 4 years ago. Somehow, that walking skeleton hadn't checked out for another 10 years. The obituary photo was a black and white picture from back in the day when she was a young woman. It was a photo of her and her deceased husband on their wedding day. And his name was August. And he looked exactly like me. I closed the browser and stared at my empty computer screen for 10 minutes. It finally made sense why she called me August. Why was she obsessed with watching me? Maybe she used to write letters to her husband, and that's why she clutched the letter opener that night? For a small moment, I felt a little better. Things always feel better when they make more sense. Honey, is everything okay? I think so. I took the first shower I had taken in years that night. I didn't even jump when the curtain rings dragged across the shower rod and my wife entered. But as she embraced me under the hot water, one question wouldn't leave my head. Why does the young woman in that wedding photo look exactly like my wife?